Hey guys, what's up? 2-Bit Jesus here, and welcome to another 2-Bit review. And since today is Valentine's Day, I thought I'd review a game called Mafia. Because you know, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, Mafia's a gangster game. You get it, right? You get what's going on here, the right there. Huh. You know, usually a horse would have shown up by now to criticize my poor taste. Huh. Well, that was weird. Let me just call him up here real quick.
You have reached the phone of the almighty Jesus horse. And I have to be honest, I didn't answer on purpose. I am a majestic being of infinite knowledge, and I don't miss calls on accident. Unless, of course, something terrible and unexpected has happened to me, in which case the world as we know it is doomed, and whatever it was you were calling for will soon cease to trouble you as you disintegrate into a pile of ashes. Either way, you may leave your message after the tone, if that will help you feel better about being ignored by me and or your soon-to-be non-existence. Beep.
Well, I guess horse is on another bender, guys, so it's just us. Let's get into this review. Mafia is a semi-open world, third-person action shooter. It was developed by the Illusion Softworks and published by The Gathering. It was released for the PC in the summer of 2002 and then later ported to the PS2 and the original Xbox. I'll be looking at the PS2 version, but I have played to completion all ports of Mafia. Aside from the Grand Theft Auto franchise, Mafia was also inspired by films such as The Goodfellas and The Godfather. Aiming for a more mature tone, Mafia's director tried to mix in drama with action and humor to add more realism to the game. Mafia had been in development since 1998 and was codenamed Gangster, and was originally intended to be a driving game similar to the Driver franchise that was popular on the original PlayStation. Original plans included a multiplayer mode, but it is nowhere to be found in the final version of the game. Mafia was scheduled for a 2000 release, but the original engine, the same one used for Hidden and Dangerous, did not meet the requirements of the development team. So the team created their own new engine called the LS3D engine. And if you want to ask me personally, I think this team was a little bit too much into recreational hallucinogenics. Just my opinion. This is the main reason why the game was released 2 years later than originally planned. When Mafia was finally ported to the PS2 and Xbox in 2004, Illusion Softworks was not involved in the porting of the game, and certain features from the PC version did not carry over to the console versions, such as police patrols not being in free ride mode. Now with these little tidbits out of the way, guys, let's step into Mafia. Mafia, when you boil it down, is just a GTA 3 clone, with different vehicles and weapons, but the core of the gameplay remains the same, with third-person action shooting and driving. Mafia provides a lot of the classic gangster gear, like the Colt M1 1911, the double-barreled sawed-off shotgun, and the Thompson M1928, or more famously known as the Tommy gun. The weapon handling in this game is poor, as it's very sensitive. Even after I turned the sensitivity down on my controller, it was still hard to aim accurately. The best strategy is to take your time and keep an amount of distance between you and your enemies. The PC version did not have this issue, as aiming and looking were mapped to the highly accurate mouse. Now, speaking of the enemies, the AI is fair through most of the game, although it will get hyper-aggressive sometimes and charge after you. This can work to your advantage or disadvantage, as sometimes I could lure the AI into a kill zone, or I would die because I was trying to reload behind cover and got killed by said aggressive AI. Moving on to the driving side of the gameplay, you can tell this is where a lot of the work was put into this game, as all the cars represent the 1930s era very well. Get ready, especially at the beginning of the game, to be reaching top speeds of 40 miles per hour. As you advance in the game, you'll get cars that are progressively better at handling and are much faster. The police department of Lost Haven upholds laws vigorously. When laws are broken in view of the police, they will respond by booking you with offenses that can be minor or serious. Minor offenses such as speeding in a vehicle or running a red light will end up with you fined, which in story mode is nothing as there is no currency to lose in story mode. Serious offenses such as physical assault or visible display of a weapon can lead to you being arrested for the first offense or a shootout with the police. If you get 4 minor offenses in a row, it will qualify as a serious offense. The police force increases with the severity of your disregard for the law to the point where they will be well armed, form blockades with tire spikes in an attempt to stop you while firing from the back of their cars. Certain acts which would catch the police's attention in real life do not in the game, such as driving on the sidewalk or on the wrong side of the road. The police AI do not recognize computer AI violations, which is very one-sided and frustrating when you're being attacked and the police do nothing to help out. There are 3 modes in the game. Story mode, which I don't think needs a description, free ride, which allows you to cruise around town without being tied down to the narrative of the story, and race mode, which also I don't think needs an explanation. You race. Pretty self-explanatory. The console version is very bare bones on the extra modes. Free Ride has the city of Lost Haven divided into 2 sections, and you can only play 1 section at a time, so if you want to cruise the countryside after driving around town, you'll have to quit to the main menu and load it up. The PC version doesn't have this issue, and you can drive around the entire world of Lost Haven in Free Ride mode. Free Ride mode isn't really much fun in my opinion, and the story mode has lots to offer and is where you'll get your money's worth with this game. Mafia's gameplay is a mediocre experience. It feels like a copy and paste job from the Grand Theft Auto series. Where the gameplay does shine is in its driving, as it is far better than the game it was trying to imitate. All of this combined with its story mode will keep you engaged in the game for a little while, and gives Mafia's gameplay 2 bits.
I think you're a good bad man.
Oh, sometimes I'm even a very bad good man.
Out of 4. The sound effects and voice work are great.
But only...
Well, minus the awkward line deliveries by the voice actors, but honestly that's part of the charm to this title for me.
Well, I think you're a good bad man.
Oh, sometimes I'm even a very bad good man.
One issue though is in a lot of sections of the game, the music will overpower the voice actors, so subtitles are a must to fix this issue. The music is awesome and really takes you back to the late 1920s and early 1930s era, with heavy focus on jazz. The main theme of Mafia is also great and has a very Godfather-esque feel to it. Mafia's sound doesn't disappoint, with spot-on period music, epic themes combined with the sometimes flat voice deliveries, gives this game's sound 3 bits.
I think you're a good bad man.
Oh, sometimes I'm even a very bad good man.
Out of 4.
Christ, that was crazy.
Where the gangsters go when they die. They don't go to heaven where the angels fly. Where the gangsters go when they die. They don't go to heaven where the angels fly. Where the gangsters go when they die. They don't go to heaven where the angels fly. Where the gangsters go when they die. They don't go to heaven where the angels fly. Where the gangsters go when they die. They don't go to heaven where the angels fly.
The graphics are decent on the PS2 and Xbox, their cutscenes look great, but I also have to say that they were just videos that were made from the PC version's in-game cutscenes. Once you get into the gameplay, however, everything gets a significant downgrade and the textures get muddy. This isn't a make or break for me in the game, as everything is still decently defined, and I wouldn't say it looks ugly, but if you compare it to the PC, it is clearly miles behind in graphic fidelity when compared to the original PC version. The draw distance is also very poor, as you can only see a few feet ahead. I get that the console hardware is limited compared to the PC, but you can't fully enjoy this beautiful world the designers created. Well, you can see it, but only 20 feet at a time. What I'm trying to point out here is you can't appreciate Lost Heaven in its full scope on the console versions. Now let's jump into the plot. The story opens up to our protagonist, Tommy Angelo, on the run from his former associates. Tommy meets with a detective named Norman. He agrees to testify against his boss, Don Salieri, in return for witness protection. The game then goes back and forth from this scene, telling Tommy's story retrospectively. A flashback to 1930 shows Tommy working as a taxi driver. He is forced at gunpoint into helping some of Salieri's men who are on the run from an ambush. After getting them back to Salieri's bar, they pay Tommy and tell him if he ever needs help to come by the bar. The next day, two of Morello's thugs, Morello, who is the rival of Salieri,
That I crashed into your car?
No! Sir, I wanted... no, sir, No! Fast! Get in my way!
tried to kill Tommy, but they are gunned down when Tommy runs to Salieri's bar and they follow in after him. Tommy is then recruited as an associate, working alongside the made men he helped the night before. Salieri's organization is structured as follows. You have, of course, Don Salieri, the boss of the family, Frank Coletti, the consigliere of the family, Ralph, the family's resident mechanic, Vincenzo, the family's gunsmith, of sorts. I really don't know what he does. He kind of just hangs out in a room and gives you weapons. So I guess gunsmith. And the two men Tommy helped out in the beginning of the game, Paulie and Sam. There are a few minor characters that will pop in and out of the story. One of the bigger ones is Lucas, who is a top-notch mechanic that provides side missions to get better cars for Tommy. After doing various jobs with Paulie and Sam for Salieri, the restaurant's bartender, Luigi, informs Tommy that strange men have been harassing his daughter, Sarah. Tommy walks her home and is assaulted by these men. After they are dealt with, Tommy and Sarah get to her apartment to bandage Tommy up from the fight. After having some of the most awkward dialogue, Mafia then commences to have one of the most awkward sex scenes in all of video games.
Sarah was an angel.
After Tommy lets Salieri know what's going on with the hoodlums, he sends Tommy and Paulie to scare off the gang, but they end up killing one of their leaders in a car chase, who turns out to be the son of a prominent city councilor, who's also conveniently in Morello's pocket. Salieri's consigliere Frank then sends Tommy to plant a bomb in one of Morello's brothels and eliminate an informant within their ranks. But before he sends Tommy off, he gives him a little advice on slowing down his wild nightlife with Paulie and to settle down with Sarah. He also warns about the life of a made man in the Mafia and that the one that kills you is often your best friend.
If you don't watch out, the next thing you know, your best friend kills you without blinking an eye.
What should I do then?
Come on.
When Tommy learns that the informant is one of Sarah's close friends, Tommy gives in to his compassion and decides to spare her life. He tells her to leave the city and never return again. After a chase on the rooftops, Tommy stumbles upon the funeral of the gang leader he killed. Tommy has to shoot his way out of the church and speed away in a hearse to Salieri's bar. Tommy then jumps a few years in his telling of the story. Tommy has married Sarah and they have a daughter. While collecting a shipment of whiskey for bootlegging, Tommy, Paulie, and Sam are attacked by Morello's men, barely escaping with their lives. It's a full-out gang war now between Salieri and Morello. Frank betrays Salieri by providing evidence of money laundering to the authorities. Salieri orders Tommy to kill him. After Tommy follows them to an airport and disposes of the federal marshals, Frank explains that he betrayed Salieri to protect his family and tells Tommy where to find the evidence. In return, he asks Tommy to spare his wife and kid. Tommy's compassion once again shows as he allows Frank to fake his death and flee to Europe with his family. 2 years later, Tommy saves Salieri from an assassination attempt by his bodyguard Carlo. In retaliation, Salieri has Morello's underboss and brother Sergio killed, as well as the city councilor that was in his pocket. With his rival's power weakened, Salieri has Morello killed and takes his territories. thus ending the chaotic war and I would say the hardest levels in the game.
Wow.
Yes! Yes!
How did you fix the car?
Better ask Sam.
Why ain't you a mechanic, Sam?
That works 2:30 for me.
The very ambitious and Joe Pesci wannabe Paulie
on
asks
your
Tommy and Sam
Well, I
to
got
help him
this
rob a
idea.
bank without
I might need
Salieri's
to do a little
knowledge,
job
as
with
telling him would prompt them
Oh,
to
yeah?
give the lion's
What's
share
the
of the
deal?
loot to Sal. And in Paulie's words, he already has enough money. Tommy and Sam decline, but after doing a heist to get some premium cigars for Sal, Paulie and Tommy accidentally discover the cachet of cigars have smuggled diamonds in them, which Paulie claimed Salieri intended to keep for himself. They agree to pull off the job that Paulie proposed earlier.
These look like diamonds, Tom. There's a hell of a lot of them.
I knew Salieri wouldn't risk so much for some damn cigars.
Bravo, boys, you did it. You got a well-deserved bonus coming your way. One crate got broke, but it's nothing. Looks like these ones at the back are okay. Bravo, bravo.
Boss, should we unload the crates and put the cigars into the warehouse?
No, not yet. Anyway, why should you do it? I can get someone else. You want to work at my warehouse, too? Now, go take it real easy, boys.
Paulie,
Huh?
I'll stop
Yeah.
by tomorrow and we
Okay.
can talk about that little deal you mentioned.
Okay. So what?
Which I must say is one of the best levels of
What's
the
the
game.
sun
The
change
build
your
and
heart?
planning to
Gotta
gearing
find
up for the
things,
bank
stop
job
making
and then
babies,
executing
right
it
away.
is
Gotta
really,
do
really
things
fun.
safe.
Wow.
We're loaded, Tom. We did it. It worked.
Sure looks like it. So what now?
We'll change our clothes so they won't pick us up on the street. Put the dough in the briefcase.
Fine, then what?
Don't say a word to anyone. Sleep on it. Stop by tomorrow. Think about what we're gonna do with the dough. I'll take it with me, so Sam won't find it.
The next day, Tommy goes to take his share of the dough, only to find Paulie dead in his apartment. Sam phones him and requests a meeting at the local art gallery, where Sam reveals that Salieri was aware of Tommy and Paulie's little bank job, and also discovered that Tommy had spared the lives of Frank and Sarah's friend, which Sam says he corrected by killing them, and that he also killed Paulie for betraying the family. Sam says Tommy is too dangerous because of his compassion, and that Sal wants him dead. After a lengthy battle, which is actually rather easy to win if you just take your time and you don't rush in, Tommy kills Sam. Just before Tommy kills Sam, Sam's last words are, even though Tommy might have beaten him, they, the family, will eventually get to him, just like they got to Frank. His last words are, friendship ain't worth shit, referencing the conversation and warning Frank had with Tommy. The story then returns to the present day with Tommy and his family going into hiding while Salieri and most of his organization are tried, convicted, and then imprisoned. Years later, in 1951, an older Tommy is watering his lawn just as Vito Scaletta and Joe, the protagonist of Mafia 2, pull up. They address Tommy by his real name, which was changed beforehand by the FBI. They gun Tommy down on Salieri's behalf. As Tommy lays dying, he laments how he and his friends only wanted the good life, but ended up with nothing at all because of their greed. Mafia has a great story that shows the struggle between Tommy's greed and his humanity, which ultimately cost him his life. So, with decent graphics, great graphics if you're on the PC port, a solid story, albeit with some awkward scenes and voice deliveries, presentation gets 3
I
bits.
think you're a good bad man.
Oh, sometimes I'm even a very bad good man.
Mr.
Out of
Angelo.
4.
Yes?
Mr. Salieri sends his regards.
You know, the world isn't run by the laws written on paper. It's run by people. Some according to laws, others not. It depends on each individual how his world will be, how he makes it. And you also need a whole lot of luck, so that somebody else doesn't make your life hell. And it ain't as simple as they tell you in grade school. But it is good to have strong values and to maintain them, in marriage, in crime, in war. always and everywhere. I messed up. So did Paulie and Sam. We wanted a better life, but in the end, we were a lot worse off than most other people. You know, I think it's important to keep a balance in things. Yeah, balance. That's the right word. Because the guy who wants too much risks losing absolutely everything. Of course, the guy who wants too little from life might not get anything at all.
Mafia is a good game, but I'm not going to give it a pass on its flaws, especially the console versions, which have downgraded graphics, oversensitive controls, and the terrible loading screens that happen in between the different parts of the city. All versions suffer from the awkwardly delivered lines from the dialogue, the slim amount of side missions in the main story, and the lackluster extra modes such as free ride mode. My final verdict for Mafia would have to be a recommended look for the console ports and a must-buy for the PC version, whether you're a casual owner or collector for the PS2, Xbox, or PC. This is a decent game and what I would say is a solid series that I hope we see more from in the future. Well guys, that's it for this review. I hope you have a happy Valentine's Day, stay safe, and play on.
Man, social media is the best place to get news. What's this? Minion shared an article. Click. What? Jesus Horse is missing? Raptor Jesus unreachable at Tai Chi Retreat? And ever since that fool 2-Bit lost his memory, he's been no threat to me. Instead of taking over his measly channel, I'll take over the entire organization. I'll just waltz right in there, sit right there in that MF Raptor seat, and take control. Minion! Minion! Minion? Ah, forget him. There isn't a second to waste. I need to get to the MFers HQ. Minion's post was right. Raptor and Horse are gone. This was too easy.
I knew you would fall for that fake news article.
Ah! Minion, it's you! Where have you been?
I'm glad you came. It's time to bring you into the fold.
The fold? What are you babbling about?
You see, Play Satan, I was never indentured to you. I was a plant, put there to observe and gather information.
Rubbish! You work for me, you little bitch! Here, let me show you what happens when people defy me.
You don't have to believe me, but it is in your best interest to listen to what I have to say. Why do you think Raptor's been ignoring your attempts to usurp 2-Bit's channel? He's been using your grudge against 2-Bit to grow his influence and power in the MFers. And now it appears he's gotten rid of Horse and plans to set you up as the fall guy.
That bastard! I gotta find Raptor when I get my hand.
If you really want to hit Raptor where it hurts, come with me. I have someone you need to meet.
Hell yes, let's get that prehistoric pig fuck.
Milady, I brought you Play Satan. He's in.
Perfect. Everything is going as I have foreseen it.
What the fuck?